Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the Kashif Boothe podcast. If you're new here, each week I sit down with a guest and we discuss their career so far, the highs, the lows, and what's next for them. Today's guest is Thara. We've known each other for about a year, but I'm sure we was following each other on social media for a little while. But then I kind of
Yeah.
slid in your DMs. I was like, hey, let's just meet up, let's connect. So, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm all right, thanks. Have you been?
I've been all right, quarantine
Mm.
and lockdown, doing the best that we can.
Yeah,
Exactly. So, welcome to the
literally.
show. Thanks for
Thank
coming
you.
on and being a guest. So, like I was saying
Thanks
to
for
you
having
just a
me.
second ago, like when I saw the show, I definitely wanted you on it because you're doing such great things. You're not just like an aspiring writer, you're actually killing it now in the writing game. So, like, tell us,
Well, I'm trying.
please, to me, you are anyway. Listen, I've been thinking like, about 3 years. So seeing all these people who are writers and just doing so well, it's such a great thing to see. So tell us how you got started. Like, how did you get into writing and film and TV?
hmm Um, so how do I get started? It's kind of like not fell into it, but because my background's in law, like I'm Nigerian, so I'm the typical you go to uni, study law. And yeah, that's what I did. So when I moved to London for law school. Um, and to be fair, I kind of knew quite early on in university that I didn't really want to be a lawyer. But when I finished uni, it was like, yeah, so you go to law school. So that's what I did. And probably I started writing probably at the end of law school, which instead of getting a job, I said I want to do scripts. But yeah, so that's what I did. And but before then, I'd always written a lot of poetry from like young. So that was kind of what I did. But I didn't really know writing was a career. Like I don't know if I thought actors just improvise scripts. I don't know what I thought, but I didn't know like people like actually write and like make a living from it and like write scripts and whatnot. So I started off with short plays. So I did when I finished law school, I wrote a script which I think initially started off as a poem, then kind of became a monologue kind of thing. And there was this organization called I think they're called Actors Awareness, and they do like scratch nights. So I literally randomly saw it on Twitter. Shout out to Twitter because that has been the plug for so many like opportunities and like people sending me stuff. But yeah, I submitted the script to that and it got selected. So yes, I did that. So they basically pay up with the director, and it was a short play called Not All Black Girls Know How to Eat, and it was about black women experiencing eating disorders. And yeah, so we did that. We put it on. We had like a few weeks of rehearsal, and then we put it on. It was at Spotlight Studios, and it was like the first time like seeing something I'd written like being brought to life by an actress. And I was just like, this is absolutely magical. Like this is the best feeling ever. Because I'd always written poetry, but I never really performed per se. I just like wrote and like put it on an Instagram page, and like people would read it. But like actually hearing like something I'd written, something that started as like a tiny idea. Um, yeah, I think from that point I was just like, okay, I think I want to do this, and then it's just been winging it, like winging it ever since. To be honest, like there's not been a clear structure. It's not like I'm not knowing what I'm doing, so it's not like okay, I do this and then I know I do this. Like it's literally just been um, just kind of winging it as I go throughout and having people kind of help me along the way as well. So yeah, I completely forgot what the question was, but hopefully that answered
Started,
it.
and it was how you got started, and that's how you got started.
Yeah,
And
that's how I got
honestly,
started. Yeah.
don't even shy away about saying that you fell into it. I've met or been to so many talks where filmmakers just fell into it, and that's just what
Yeah.
happens,
I
And
wish
you're
I had a
managed to being
story
a
where it was
lawyer
like,
and a writer, right?
yeah,
So,
yeah. I wish I had a story where it's just like, yeah, my parents got me my first camera and my first typewriter when I was like 4 years old, and I was like, yeah, from that point. But no, it really wasn't. It was like I wrote poems. And I was like, oh, people actually write scripts. Cool. Let me try this. Yeah, yeah, that's it.
that's really good. As I said, like it's 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 really good to hearing other people's journey. Like I'm always saying that to well in previous episodes, like I've had loads of people share the same story. Like they fell into it or they wanted to be in film and TV, but then they didn't know how to get into it or they took a break, and then but when they actually found their passion, that's when like things started to take off. So
Mm,
that's the same with you. Like you're doing such big things now. Like you had that Endemol competition. So could you tell us more about that? And
mm-hmm.
how it came about and how yeah, what was the process like?
Yeah. Well, it's actually funny because it's kind of come full circle because it came about because of you. Because
Yeah.
remember when we met,
Yeah.
you were the one that told me about the opportunity. Because I'm like, literally, it has just been people just telling that, oh, you should apply for this, you should apply for that. because like I'm not familiar with the industry per se, so I don't know what the steps are. So it's kind of just been like people along the way just helping me out. So you're one of those people, so big up to you for that as well.
You're welcome.
But yeah, you sent it to me, and I think it was like you had to send like, I don't know, 10 pages of a script, but I didn't really know it was like a TV thing per se. I just thought it was like just a script competition. So I actually sent a short film that I'd written. And then we had then I found out that I'd been longlisted. So there was like a whole development day. So we had sessions by writers and Philip Shelley, he's a script editor. So he did like a session as well, and it was just like I was literally just like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, like just like hearing more about the industry, because I think that was probably the first time I'd heard about the TV industry, because before then I'd just been doing like short plays and scratch nights and things like that. So it's like I was more familiar with theatre, so this is kind of like my first step into TV. So there were 12 writers, BAME writers, women as well, so that was really exciting. And yeah, it was just like yeah, like I said, the whole day, and then they shortlisted. Was there 12 of us at the beginning? Yeah, I think there was 12 of us, and then they shortlisted 5 of us, four or 5. I can't remember now. So yeah, so the shortlist day was like you had your script, and then you had like kind of almost like a speed dating session with like different industry professionals. So you had script editors, producers, and they gave you feedback on your script, and then you would kind of amend it based on this feedback. And then in the evening there was a table read, so we had like professional actors come in and read the scripts. And again, that was like I said, I just loved like hearing my words, like my work read out. Is so exciting. So it was really, really cool. And it's a comedy competition as well, so it was a comedy script. So it was good to hear like people laugh as well, because I guess that's always the difficulty with comedy. It's like you find it funny, but does anyone else find it funny?
Exactly.
So yeah, it was just really good reception. And I think from there as well, because they invited a lot of like industry people, so like producers and whatnot. But interestingly enough, because I had a scratch night on that evening, so that was like such a full-on day. So I didn't really get to stay and like network, which like I was like, that's fine, because I find networking really awkward anyway. So I was like, I'm gonna go now. So yeah, from that, like I guess people kind of knew of me a bit more, so I kind of got reached out by producers and execs and whatnot to like meet for, which I now know are general meetings. At the time I didn't know what, because meet for a coffee, I just thought it's just meet for a coffee. Apparently it's like it's like an industry thing.
Yeah, that's their little
it's their lingo. I didn't know that at the time. Yeah, I didn't know that at the time. I was like, sure, let's meet for a coffee. I don't drink coffee, I have hot chocolate. But yeah, I now know that's what they call general meetings. So I think after that I had a few of those. And with the competition I didn't win, but they kind of like liked my script, so I've been working with Zebratron since then to develop it as well. And when I like pitching to broadcasters and whatnot.
Amazing.
So even though I didn't win it, like a lot still came from it. So yeah, I'll definitely, when they do it again, I'll definitely just like send it to everyone and be like, apply, because it was a really exciting opportunity.
I was so happy you got through. You don't understand. Like when you told me that you got longlisted and shortlisted,
I think I literally, I was like keeping you updated. And I was like, oh my gosh, Kashif, I got longlisted. Oh my gosh, I've been shortlisted.
I was so happy. I was just like, yes, this is the point. When you see opportunities and you know other people are talented, you share them with it. And I'm rooting for everybody Black. So yeah, okay, like go ahead. To quote Issa Rae, I'm rooting for everyone Black. So that was so amazing. So that's so good. Like honestly, what an experience like that would have been to be with production companies, script editors, producers, you know. And that's what's great about these competitions or just opportunities which are being created for people of color, especially in the UK. And the fact that you're still working with them is amazing. So yeah, so I mean, I've watched some of your work before, because I know you've got a lot of work with your cinema films and stuff like that. So yeah, it's coming. So, and then now I saw that you're on the channel for screenwriting. What is it, competition or course? Like what is it?
It's like a course. Yeah, it's like a scheme. So they select 12 writers. So I think this year they had like something crazy, like almost 4,000 submissions, which is mad. But again, with that, it was someone that a writer, Talila Dada, she was one that was just like, apply. And I feel like when you have someone in your head saying apply, when you feel like copping out, you low-key, because they'll be like, oh, so did you apply to that? So I was just like, okay, let me get myself together and do this. So I applied for it, because I never really heard of it until last year. So yeah, you have to apply with a pilot script, so 30 pages. So that's why I was a bit like kind of hesitant, because that was like the first pilot like scripts more than like 10 pages that I wrote was for that. So I was a bit like, oh gosh, do I even know how to write pilot? I applied, and somehow, some way, by God's grace, I got selected. And yeah, it's really exciting. So you work with like a script editor. So the process that you have like a first weekend. So we had our first weekend last month, and it's literally like 3 days of, I mean, it's all on Zoom now, so it can be quite intense. And you just have like industry professionals, like kind of just so you have writers tell you about their experience, and you have like people that are established in the industry just telling you about, just answering your questions and just kind of sharing their journeys, which I think is quite helpful. Just, I think, you know, knowledge is power, just knowing how the industry works as well. Like that's where I learned what a general meeting is and things like that. And like we had a session with an agent as well. So yeah, so then we kind of break off we're put in smaller groups where we work with script editors to develop a new script. So I'm currently working on the second draft of my outline for the pilot script I'll be writing for the course. So then when it finishes, we'll have, I think usually they have like table reads, but I'm not sure what will happen this year because obviously the Rona. So if it permits, I think it'll be a table read, but if not, then I don't know if they'll do something on Zoom, I'm not sure, but they kind of describe it as like an introduction to the industry, because I think, you know, it's quite a, what's the word, like renowned course, so people kind of look at the writers that come off it, which I think when I heard that I was a bit like, oh, this is a bit scary, but but it's a good opportunity, like it's a very good opportunity, and I was really, really excited to get selected, because I do kind of feel I'm still quite new, like so I'm still learning a lot as I go along, so it's a good environment to learn, I think.
Because I've heard of that course, because I know another writer who did it in 2019, and obviously this was pre-corona, but I saw that she had a table read and it was with industry professionals as well, and she's on the podcast as well. She's in one of the early episodes, and she spoke about it, and when she got selected, she didn't have an agent, just like, I mean, do you have an agent, a writer's agent?
So I literally just signed to an agent like last week.
Oh, okay.
So I got the agent through the course. The leader of the person who runs the course introduced me to someone, and they were like, yeah, like stuff want to sign you, and I was like, yeah, seems legit, cool. So yeah, I have an agent now.
Well,
I have an agent. It was a bit more than that, but
yeah, but you just kind of,
so yeah, I have an agent now.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, I didn't before, so I got an agent through the course basically.
But see, that's great. Like, that's two people I know who actually got on the course who don't have agents. And when Sunita, that's her name, when she did the course, like she was the only one who got selected who didn't have an agent. Everybody else did, like they submitted through their agent and stuff like that. So it just shows your talent. I know you're still saying that you fell into this and you're still figuring it out, but the talent's there, so you're prevailing and pushing through. So that's really amazing, and it's just going to go to new heights for you. So like, what would you say is like your favorite part of writing? Like, what's your style, your aesthetic, or some of your inspirations? What you draw upon?
Favorite part of writing, I think I love dialogue. Like that's kind of like when I just first started writing, it was just like I would just write. That's why I think I naturally fell into like theatre, because I'll just write pages and pages of dialogue. And, like there's no structure, there's nothing. But yeah, I just enjoy. I don't know, maybe because I talk to myself, not in like a weird way, but like I talk to myself quite a lot, so I enjoy like just dialogue and conversations and characters as well. I think creating characters and then seeing how that builds, and then I think also like how an idea, because I think I've realized ideas and stories are like two separate things. You can have an idea, but the story is not necessarily there. So I think when you have an idea and it then like graduates to a story, and then from the story you have the characters and you build the world, I think just that process is quite is really enjoyable. When like it all clicks together, like it's the best feeling. There are sometimes you'll have an idea and you're like, this just isn't working, and it can still be a good idea, but you just can't find the story. So I think that's like the frustrating part. But when it does kind of click, like even for the course, the Channel 4 course at the moment, I had quite a few ideas, to be fair, things that I wanted to write, because you have to like pitch through ideas. So you get shortlisted and then you have to like pitch what you would want to write. So all the ideas that I pitched at the time, I liked them, but when it came to like doing the outline, I was like, I don't think they're working. So as usual, I changed my idea like last minute, and the idea that I'm doing now, like I'm really excited about that, and the story just came so, like the story and the characters just came so quickly, and I was just like, okay, this is what I have to write. So I think when you have that feeling, it's really really exciting, and to just like create a world, I think Yeah, I just enjoy it. I think I prefer writing more than speaking to people, to be honest. I'm just like, this is my safe space.
You saying that reminds me of something Shonda Rhimes said. I remember watching an interview with her with Oprah, and she said that she has this kind of like humming sound what comes over her when she gets lost in her writing, and that kind
Yeah,
of sounds like you
literally.
just kind of get lost in your writing.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
understand that. I mean, I haven't written anything in 3 years, but when I used to write, I used to get in this zone and I couldn't stop, and everything around me was
Yeah,
just blocked out. And I definitely
yeah.
understand that you get lost in the script and the
Oh,
story, and you're
completely.
so
Like
excited
even
by how it's going
yeah.
on. So yeah, yeah.
Like even now, I think my family realized because I'll be like, my mum will like walk in and she's like, "Oh, you're right, and sorry, sorry," because you just get in this. I don't even know how to describe it. And I don't know if other writers have. I guess from what you've just said, you have the same feeling, but just like when it all clicks, you're like, it's just like you're gone clear. Like it's like magic, isn't it? It's dope. It's amazing.
Like I don't want to stop. Like I'm just literally because I write everything by
Mhm.
hand. I'm very old school
Oh
like
my
that.
god.
Yeah, everyone always says that, and I just
Yeah.
really get into it, and I just like pages and pages, and then I go back. Like you just want to get the dialogue on the
Mm-hmm.
paper, and then I go
Mm.
back and add all the action and scene description
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I just want to get that out. I don't want to
Yeah, I
lose it.
guess that's true actually. I guess that's yeah, I see it. Yeah, I see the I can't do that because I can't read my handwriting. Like I write like a doctor, like it's just a mess. But no, I get the logic behind it, like just because I think sometimes when you're like writing on final draft, it's like, okay, now you have to reformat and do this and cut to and add all of this. So yeah, I get the idea behind that. It makes sense.
Yeah, when I'm script editing, that's when I can do it on the computer. I can be on my like cell text or final draft, like very
Mm,
easy, just going over everything. That's easy. But I don't know, just very old school like that. I like to just have my pen and paper and just write for ages. So
mm.
yeah, I definitely get that. But what's next? Like what have you got besides Channel 4 and Zeppotron? Like what else are you doing? Are you still doing short films and like indie
Yeah.
projects or
Yes, I think I forgot to mention short films actually. That's kind of so when I first started, I literally wrote like a short play, and then I also wrote a short film script, and I sent it to this producer Alifa Opom, um, who I've literally been like working with on projects since like I started essentially. And she's like worked on quite a lot of stuff, and like she's literally like my favorite person ever. So yeah, so we have like a few projects that we've been trying to like get funding for. Then last year we shot my first short film, which I directed as well. She produced, and yes, that's currently in post at the moment. So hopefully, God willing, that'll be out next month, hopefully. And then another project we did last year as well, which I wrote the script for and she produced. It was directed by Abigail Sewell. That's so that was we shot that last year and it was screened in January. But it's also going to be screened on BBC and then it'll be on iPlayer. So that's kind of coming next. I think it'll be out like next week or so actually. Or in a few weeks, I can't remember. I think next week. So yeah, that's kind of what's next. And then obviously I've just signed with an agent, so I guess it's just seeing what comes from that. But I think now like my main focus is probably the course, the Channel 4 course, and yeah, try to balance that all as well with because I'm still working this 9 to 5, Lord mercy. So
how are you balancing being a lawyer and then your writing career? Like how are you balancing both of them?
so I'm not actually I worked at a firm, I was paralegal, but I didn't do training contracts. So I'm not qualified or anything. And I actually work in finance now, so I've completely switched. I changed jobs last year. But yeah, I think because when I first got my first job at a firm as a paralegal, that was like the same time that I started writing. So I'm used to be doing both at the same time. Like it's what I've always done. So I guess I didn't know anything different. But I think the busier I'm getting, the more difficult it is to like kind of split myself, if that makes sense. So I think like now I'm considering maybe going part because fortunately with the job that I'm at now, there's the option to work part-time. So that's probably something I'll explore a bit more. But yeah, I think I don't know, when you love it, you just make because everyone's always like, oh, how do you balance it? I think you just make the time, isn't it? I mean, you work full time as well and do thousands of other stuff. So you probably know you probably know more than me. But yeah, I guess you just find the time, like you work after work, you do stuff on weekends. But yeah, I think because that's always been my routine. So it's not like I've gone from working to then wanting to be a writer. Like when I started working, that's when I also started writing as well. So it was like two completely different career paths. But writing's like what I'm actually passionate about. The other one's just kind of money, like a check to survive. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I guess you just make it work. You just do what you need to do in it.
It's true. And who are some of your inspirations, like writers you look up to?
I really love I'm so bad with names. He did. I don't know if you've watched the Before series. I think Richard's Linklater. But I really love dialogue. Like that is my thing. So I love like just films of like people walking and talking, and like the Before Sunrise series is literally that. Like it's just two strangers that meet and they're just like and they fall in love, and it's just dialogue, and I just think he's such a beautiful writer. And then I can't remember his name, but he's like written some like the greats, like what's it called, Forrest Gump. I think he did The Curious Case of Benjamin Button as well. I can't remember what the writer's name is, but really big fan of his work. And then obviously like Shonda Rhimes, like that is my person. Issa Rae, like the obvious ones as well. But yeah, finally, I think a lot of like American writers is just because I grew up watching American TV and whatnot. So those are the writers I'm more familiar with. But yeah, I think there's a lot of writers in UK, like especially Black British, as well, like Teresa Ikoko and Michaela Cole, that are really coming up as well, that I definitely look up to. Like I think Teresa, like her, like Rocks. What I loved about Rocks is how natural it was.
Yes.
Like I love like scripts where you're just like, was there a writer on this?
Yes.
And like, do you know what I mean? I'm like, was there a writer? Because it's just so natural and it's so like conversational, and that's what I enjoy. So yeah, those are some of my inspos.
So then that means you must have really enjoyed Malcolm and Marie then.
I wouldn't lie, I did. I'll take my jest. I did. I like people talking. I love theatre, so I think that's also why. And it was quite theatrical. I get where a lot of the critique is coming from, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just naive. I think sometimes people watch things. I think there was a certain like political lens or certain lens of critique that people were watching it with. I don't know, just because of who the director was, and that's fair and warranted. But I don't know. I just watched it for what it was, and I enjoyed the. Yes, it was heightened, but it's a film. Do you know what I mean? It's a film, and I think for me, I'm pretty easy. Like if the film moves me in some way and makes me feel something, whether it's good or bad, then like I'm like to some extent they've done their job. Do you know what I mean? Even the fact that there is so much conversation about it, they've done their job to some extent. What did you think of it?
For me, it's like I get both sides. Like I enjoyed it, but then I also understand
I understand the
why
critique
the
completely.
criticism. So then I got why. So yeah, I'm in two minds about it. Like, yeah, I loved the cinematography. I loved it that it was in black and white. The acting was great. And then I really did enjoy the dialogue, like a lot of the scenes, because it just felt like a series, like a like a short series, like little short films all put in one. I just wish that there was a little bit more of a message of the film, like what was the message you were trying to convey. But the message I got was that they're just toxic. And it's a toxic relationship. That's all it is, really. So you just kind of take it for what it is.
Same. For what it is, I think that was it. I just took it from what this is. I think they described it as a film about love, and it's not love. I think there were some people just this doesn't display black love and whatnot. And I don't think that was necessarily what was meant to. Like, I wouldn't even describe it as a black film. Like I don't think it is. I think it's just a film about two people who are very toxic and very dependent on each other in an incredibly unhealthy way, and they happen to be black. And I just took it as that. I am very glad that I watched it before like all of the criticism came out, because I think when it first came out, when it was about to come, people were quite excited about it. And then maybe a few days after, that's when all of this. So I literally watched it straight away. So I'm like, I'm so glad, because I think if I watched it maybe going in with all of these other things, I wouldn't have enjoyed it as much, just because you have that lens already. So I kind of just went in and watched it for what it was. I was like, this wasn't like, it's not a film I'm going to go back and watch again. Like I don't have any reason to.
It's a one-time thing.
It's a one-time thing. You take it for what it is. It's a lot as well. It does take, because it's incredibly intense, so it takes a lot out of you. But for what it was, and they shot it in lockdown as well, I think, and like they let all the HODs kind of invest in it and get some money back. So I'm like, they try, sure. I don't like critiquing. Not like, I don't really like, I think people critique things really easily nowadays, and I think sometimes just let art be art. Obviously it is everything's subject to criticism, but sometimes it just seems like people are doing it for the sake of doing it, do you know what I mean, or for the fun of it. But yeah, I definitely see both sides. So
but I think it just depends on what the content of the film was, because Fences is very similar. to how Malcolm and Marie is,
And
and then
Marriage
also
Story.
yeah, and Marriage Story, that's correct. And
Yeah.
also One Night in Miami. They're all
Yeah.
very similar
Just chatting, yeah.
formats. It's just different what the content of the actual piece was, you know, because I watched, to me, all of them were engaging to me as well. So I really do enjoy dialogue driven films, but it just has to be good, and the dialogue has to be good, and the performances have to carry it. And they were all of those films I just mentioned the actors carried it very well. And so I'm sure Zendaya is going to get a whole heap of nominations, and John David Washington, because they did a great job. So I totally understand that. So where can the listeners find you and your work? What's available online?
So I think I have some stuff on your cinema. So Peace, who's an actress, so she was in my first short play that I did, and I kind of like been working with her. We always say we're like stuck together, like I've been working with her ever since. So when I first started out, I did a few like show or scenes for her that ended up being on your cinema. So I think I have two things on your cinema. I have a short that will be coming out on BBC next week. I think it'll be on BBC Two for like a night. I'm not sure the dates yet. And then it will be on iPlayer for like I think the rest of the year pretty much. And then I have another short, God willing, that will be coming. It's in post at the moment, so hopefully it'll be coming out next month, hopefully. Yeah, I think that's it. I have some faith-based stuff as well that I'm working on with Kaide Ewumi. He has a production company, so I'm working on some stuff. So I think in the next few months, some stuff will be coming out as well. And then yeah, TV stuff, as you know, just takes forever. so you know, the project that I have with Zephyrjon, we're pitching it at the moment, so I don't know what will come of that, but
amazing.
God
Well,
willing,
just let me know. I would love to come to the premiere, you know.
It'll be on Zoom.
exactly.
God forbid, actually. God forbid.
Exactly. But
I'm
so
sad as well.
thank you so much for joining me. It's a great talking to you about writing and your career so far. So yeah, I'm sure this is just the beginning. There's so many more doors are going to be open for you. So yeah. So thanks guys for listening. Follow me on all social media at Kashif Boothe or the Kashif Boothe. I can't always get this tongue tied. It's so many pages. Wait, let me try again. Okay. Follow me guys
Rewind.
Exactly. Follow me guys on social media at Kashif Boothe, the Kashif Boothe podcast, or Kashif Boothe Entertainment. See you guys soon.